Commander Alex Rain stood at the edge of the alien plateau, the wind howling around him and carrying with it a strange metallic scent. The planet, known only by its survey designation LV-319, had been a mystery until the Vanguard's sensors picked up unusual energy readings deep beneath its surface. Alex had been on countless missions before, but something about this world made his pulse quicken, not fear exactly, but an unshakable sense that humanity had never truly faced a place like this. Beside him, Dr. Ilara Miles knelt over a patch of glowing moss, her scanner casting flickering green light across her face. She had been quiet for most of the descent from the ship, but her calm focus was inspiring. Alex had admired her for years. There was intelligence in the way she moved, a precision that reminded him of an artist painting a masterpiece, though her canvas was now an alien landscape filled with dangers they could not yet understand. "You're taking samples like this is a walk in the park," Alex said, his voice carrying over the roar of the wind. He crouched beside her, scanning the same patch of moss. "I don't think any moss on Earth glows like this." Ilara glanced at him, her brow furrowed, then allowed a small smile to curve her lips. "And you're running around like it's a holiday," she replied, her tone teasing. "One wrong step and you'll end up being dinner for whatever lives underground here." Alex chuckled, the sound carrying a strange comfort despite the alien world around them. He leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. "Sweetheart." Her cheeks warmed, a hint of pink against the pallor of her skin illuminated by the scanner. She blinked at him, a mixture of surprise and something else, something lighter, flickering in her eyes. "Say it again," she said softly, and the moment hung between them, fragile but electric. Alex smiled, and before he could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. The scanner in Ilara's hand emitted a high-pitched whine, and the glowing moss beneath their feet rippled like liquid. Alex grabbed her arm instinctively, pulling her back as a massive shape erupted from the soil. The creature was unlike anything they had catalogued before. 6 immense limbs shot out from a body that shimmered with iridescent scales, its eyes reflecting the alien sun with unnatural clarity. Its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth that clicked together in a sound that made Alex's blood run cold. "Move," he shouted, grabbing Ilara's hand. She didn't hesitate. Together they sprinted toward the ridge above, dodging debris and fragments of the rock that the creature had torn free. The rest of the crew followed, shouting orders and firing pulse blasters to distract the monster. Ilara's voice cut through the chaos, calm but urgent. "If we can get it into the canyon, we might be able to trap it." She pulled a small containment drone from her pack and activated it. A metallic net shot out, glowing faintly as it tried to ensnare the alien. The creature roared in frustration, shaking the ground so violently that Alex had to grab onto Ilara to keep from falling. He looked at her, and despite the terror, he felt something fierce and familiar, a sense of partnership that made the fear manageable. "You okay?" he yelled over the noise. "Better now that you called me sweetheart again," she shouted back, even as her fingers worked tirelessly to guide the drone. Her words made him grin even in the midst of danger. Together, they worked as a unit, improvising tactics on the spot. Alex used the pulse blaster to create openings, while Ilara manipulated the drone to exploit the creature's blind spots. After what felt like an eternity, the alien roared one final time and fell into the canyon below, its limbs thrashing against the walls as the drone tightened its grip. The team collapsed on the ridge, breathing heavily, adrenaline still pumping through their veins. Alex wiped sweat from his brow and looked at Ilara. "You handled that perfectly," he said, admiration clear in his voice. She laughed softly, a sound that seemed out of place in the chaos but brought warmth to the cold, alien air. "We make a good team," she said, her tone carrying a mixture of pride and relief. Alex hesitated, then let the words he had held back slip free. "Sweetheart, I really mean it." Her blush returned, gentler this time, as she looked down briefly before meeting his gaze. "I know," she said quietly, and in that moment it was as if the storm, the alien threats, and the distant unknown all faded away, leaving just the two of them connected by trust, courage, and something unspoken yet profound. That night in the safe bay of the Vanguard, the crew assessed their injuries and repaired damaged equipment. The alien creature had been contained, but the energy readings continued to pulse from beneath the planet's surface, like a heartbeat waiting to be discovered. Alex and Alara sat together, sharing a meal in silence, the hum of the ship around them creating a strange sense of intimacy. "You know," Alex said finally, breaking the quiet, "I never thought a planet could make me feel human, alive, but this one does." Alara looked at him thoughtfully. "It's not just the planet," she said softly. "It's the people on it, and maybe the people you choose to face it with." Alex reached across the table, taking her hand. The warmth of her fingers against his sent a shiver of reassurance down his spine. "Then let's make sure we face it together," he said. Over the next few days, the team explored the surrounding areas, cataloging alien flora and fauna. Every day brought new wonders and new dangers. There were plants that seemed to move when they weren't looking, animals that could vanish in an instant, and landscapes that shifted subtly, almost as if the planet itself was alive. Alex and Alara worked closely, their partnership growing stronger with each challenge. They devised methods to study the alien life safely, often relying on each other's expertise to make split-second decisions. Alex learned to anticipate her moves, her thought process almost intuitive now. Alara, in turn, adapted to his improvisational style, recognizing the moments when bold action could save the team from peril. One afternoon, while collecting samples near a canyon rim, Alex called out, "Sweetheart." Alara's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing in mock suspicion. "Now what?" she asked, though her lips twitched as if a smile threatened to escape. He took a careful step toward her. "I just want to hear you say it again." Her blush returned, deeper this time, but her voice was steady. "Say what again?" Alex grinned. "Exactly." They laughed quietly, the sound mingling with the alien wind, a small act of humanity in a world that was otherwise harsh and unpredictable. Even in the face of danger, they found moments of warmth, small sparks that reminded them why humans endured, thrived, and reached beyond the stars. As night fell, the planet revealed its otherworldly beauty. Bioluminescent plants lit the valleys below, painting the landscape in blues, greens, and purples. Alex and Alara stood side by side, watching the display in silence. "Imagine if Earth looked like this," Alex said softly, almost to himself. Alara leaned closer, resting her head briefly against his shoulder. "We'd never leave," she murmured, but they could not linger. The energy readings beneath the surface were growing stronger, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost deliberate. The alien world was alive, and it had something to communicate, or something to test them with. The next morning, the team descended into a cavern that stretched far beneath the surface. Stalactites of crystal shimmered in their headlamps, casting fractured light across walls slick with moisture. The air was thick, and Alex felt the weight of the unknown pressing down. Alara led the way, her scanner in hand, translating vibrations and subtle movements that the human eye could barely detect. Alex followed closely, protective but silent, allowing her expertise to guide their path. Suddenly, the cavern opened into a vast chamber, larger than any building they had ever known. At its center, a glowing entity floated, shifting and shimmering in ways that defied gravity and comprehension. It pulsed with light, sending ripples across the chamber almost like it was breathing. Alex felt a mixture of awe and fear. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Alara studied it intently, speaking softly to her scanner. "It's communicating," she said. "Not with words, but with light and vibration. It's trying to understand us." Alex glanced at her, smiling faintly. "Sweetheart," she turned to him, a soft smile playing across her lips despite the tension in the air. "Yes, we're humans," he said, reaching for her hand. "We've faced the impossible before, and we do it together." Her fingers entwined with his, warm and reassuring. "Together," she agreed. The alien pulsed in response, sending waves of light that made the cavern glow even brighter. Alex felt a strange certainty. Whatever this being was, whatever lay ahead, humanity had something no technology could replace: courage, ingenuity, and heart. They spent hours in that chamber, learning and communicating, each discovery revealing more about the alien world and about themselves. Every obstacle required trust, every challenge demanded quick thinking. But through it all, Alex and Alara remained side by side, their connection growing stronger with each shared victory, each small act of bravery, each whispered "sweetheart" that reminded them why humans endured, thrived, and reached beyond the stars. As the Vanguard's crew prepared to return to the surface, Alex and Alara paused to look around one last time. The cavern, the lights, the alien presence, It was overwhelming, humbling, and inspiring all at once. Alex whispered, "We've only just begun, sweetheart." Alara smiled, squeezing his hand. "I know, and I wouldn't want to face it with anyone else." In that moment, the universe felt vast and intimidating, but also full of possibility. Humanity had arrived on a new world, not just with technology and science, but with the resilience, courage, and connection that made them truly remarkable. And Alex knew that whatever awaited them, he and Alara would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart, proving once again that even in the farthest reaches of space, humanity's spirit could shine brighter than any star. The Vanguard's crew returned to the surface, weary but exhilarated. The alien chamber they had discovered pulsed in their memories, an otherworldly reminder of how little humanity truly understood about the universe. Commander Alex Rain and Dr. Alara Miles walked side by side toward the ship, their boots crunching on the alien soil. The wind carried the faint metallic scent of the planet, but it no longer seemed threatening. It had become part of their rhythm, part of their shared experience. "Do you ever wonder," Alara said quietly, glancing at the glowing horizon, "what else is down there?" "What we didn't see?" Alex chuckled softly, looking at her. "You mean besides the giant things that want to eat us?" She smiled faintly. "Besides that, yes, there has to be more. This planet isn't just alive, it's smart. It's observing us, testing us maybe." Alex thought about it for a moment. The alien chamber, with its glowing entity communicating in pulses of light and vibrations, had felt almost sentient. He squeezed her hand gently. "Then we'll show it what humanity is capable of, together." Alara's blush returned, warmer this time, as if she were not just acknowledging the words but the feeling behind them. "Together," she repeated softly. The crew spent the following days mapping the surrounding region and setting up long-range sensors. Alex oversaw the perimeter, ensuring that no surprises from below or the skies would catch them unprepared. Alara moved from one sample site to another, her scanner whirring quietly as it collected data. Their cooperation became seamless, unspoken. When Alex needed to act, Alara was there to provide guidance. When Alara encountered an unknown species, Alex was ready to protect her or intervene. One afternoon, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath their feet. The team scattered instinctively, but Alex grabbed Alara's arm. "Not again," he muttered, scanning the rocky terrain for the source. The ground cracked, and from the fissure emerged a pack of creatures. Smaller than the colossal beast they had encountered before, but fast and agile. Their exoskeletons glimmered in the alien light, and their movements were coordinated, almost strategic. "Everyone, defensive positions," Alex commanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline rushing through him. He pointed at the creatures' paths. "Flank them." "Alara, get the containment nets ready." Alara nodded, hands moving quickly over her controls. "This is different," she murmured, scanning the creatures' behavior. "They're intelligent, they're hunting in packs, learning from each other." Alex glanced at her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "I don't know anyone better to handle this than you, sweetheart." Her blush was immediate, her lips curving into a small, proud smile. "Focus, Rain. We survive first, flattery second." The creatures lunged, and the team sprang into action. Alex's pulse blaster emitted bright, pulsing light, forcing the creatures to scatter temporarily. Alara released the containment drones, which deployed metallic nets designed to ensnare alien lifeforms. The creatures struggled, but their agility made them difficult to trap. Alex and Alara moved as one, reading each other's instincts. He would fire at one angle, forcing the creatures to dodge, while she maneuvered the nets from the opposite side. Their coordination was almost silent, yet perfectly synchronized, a testament to their growing trust and understanding. Hours passed in a blur of motion and strategy. The creatures were intelligent, yes, but Alex and Alara were smarter. Using the terrain, they managed to funnel the remaining pack into a narrow canyon. There, the containment drones activated their magnetic grips, immobilizing the aliens long enough for the crew to retreat safely. When the dust settled, Alex found Alara leaning against a rock, breathing heavily but smiling despite it all. "We did it," he said, still alert to any sudden movements. She laughed softly, brushing dirt from her sleeve. "We did, and you still called me sweetheart during it." Alex grinned, dropping his pulse blaster and taking her hand. "I did. You deserve to hear it every time we survive something like this." Her eyes softened, and for a moment they didn't speak, just held each other's gaze. In the midst of alien danger, humanity's heart had proven its strength, not just in survival but in connection. The days continued with careful exploration. The team discovered alien plants that seemed to react to human presence, changing color or orientation as they approached. Some emitted strange gases that were harmless but caused hallucinations, requiring the crew to remain vigilant. Every discovery was a mix of wonder and challenge, a reminder that the universe was vast and unpredictable. Alex and Alara documented their findings together, often staying late into the alien night. One evening, after analyzing a particularly fascinating bioluminescent vine, Alex looked up from his data pad. "Alara," he said softly, "you ever think we're lucky?" Alara tilted her head, curious. "Lucky? How do you mean?" "Lucky to be here alive together, to face all this chaos and still find moments like this," he replied, gesturing to the glowing alien landscape outside the ship's viewports. Her hand found his, fingers intertwining. "I don't think it's luck," she said quietly. "I think it's human nature. We endure, we adapt, we survive, and sometimes we find something more, something worth holding on to." Alex smiled, pressing his forehead gently against hers. "Then let's hold on, sweetheart. No matter what this planet throws at us, we hold on." Her blush deepened, but her grip on his hand tightened. "Agreed." Their bond became an unspoken anchor for the team. The other crew members noticed it, though none spoke of it directly. Alex and Alara were leaders not just in title, but in courage and ingenuity. When challenges arose, they faced them together, setting an example of humanity at its best. One morning, as they were preparing to explore a newly detected cavern, the Vanguard's sensors picked up something extraordinary. Deep beneath the planet's surface, the energy readings were forming patterns, almost like a language. Alara's eyes widened as she studied the data. "It's intelligent," she whispered. "It's trying to communicate." Alex felt a thrill of excitement. "Then we respond, carefully, together." They descended into the cavern, the walls shimmering with an otherworldly light. The air was thick and humid, but their suits filtered it, allowing them to breathe easily. As they moved deeper, they began to see shapes, structures that seemed almost architectural, though made entirely of organic material. The patterns pulsed gently, as if alive, reacting to their presence. Alara reached out, scanning the nearest formation. "These aren't just shapes," she said. "They're messages, instructions, or maybe questions." Alex's eyes met hers. "Then we answer," he said simply. "And we do it together." Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinthine structures. Each discovery led to another, each pulse of alien energy another clue. They found chambers filled with glowing crystals, corridors lined with strange fungi that seemed to hum with energy, and open spaces where gravity shifted subtly, forcing them to adapt their movements. At one point, a sudden quake shook the cavern, and Alex instinctively shielded Alara, pulling her behind a crystalline pillar as debris fell around them. "You okay?" he shouted over the rumble. She laughed, breathless but unharmed. "Better now that you're here, sweetheart." Alex's heart skipped, and he squeezed her hand, grateful for the small human comfort amid the alien chaos. "Always," he replied. By the time they reached the chamber that mirrored the one from their previous descent, the glowing entity awaited them. Its form pulsed brighter than ever, a cascade of light that seemed almost to recognize their persistence and bravery. Alara studied it, whispering commands to her scanner, translating the light pulses into comprehensible patterns. "It's welcoming us," she said, her voice filled with awe, "or at least acknowledging our presence." Alex reached for her hand, entwining their fingers once more. "We came as humans," he said, "curious, brave, and together, and that's what it sees. Our strength isn't just technology, it's our courage, our ability to work together." Alara smiled, leaning slightly into him. "And maybe our hearts," she whispered. Alex's smile was soft, genuine. "And our hearts, sweetheart." The entity responded with a brilliant pulse, illuminating the cavern in waves of shifting color. Alex and Alara realized that their bond, their humanity, was being reflected back at them. Even in the face of incomprehensible alien intelligence, what made them strong was not their weapons or tools, but their trust, their partnership, and their capacity to care for one another. By the time they returned to the surface, night had fallen. The alien sky shimmered with colors that no human had names for. Alex and Alara stood together, watching the stars twinkle above, feeling the weight of everything they had discovered. "You know," Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence, Every time we survive something like this, I feel like I understand us better. Humans, I mean our potential, our heart. Alara squeezed his hand gently. And every time you remind me why it's worth it, why we endure, why we explore, and why some things like this, she gestured between them, are priceless. Alex smiled, brushing a thumb across her knuckles. Sweetheart. Her cheeks warmed, her eyes glinting in the alien light. Say it again, she said softly. And he did, not just as a word, but as a promise. A promise of courage, partnership, and humanity's unstoppable spirit in a universe that was vast, mysterious, and endlessly challenging. The Vanguard's mission was far from over, but Alex and Alara knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, they would face it side by side, hearts aligned, proving that humanity's greatest strength was not in its technology or weapons, but in its courage, ingenuity, and the capacity to care. The next morning, the Vanguard's crew gathered for a briefing. Alex and Alara stood at the front, their presence a quiet anchor amidst the rest of the team's chatter and nervous energy. The energy readings below the planet had intensified overnight, sending pulses that now reached the surface with a rhythm that felt almost deliberate, almost communicative. Alara tapped her scanner, bringing up a three-dimensional holographic map of the subterranean structures. Whatever is down there, she said carefully, it's not random. These patterns, the energy pulses, they're organized, intelligent, and they're responding to our presence. Alex nodded. So it's not just observation, it wants interaction. We need to approach carefully. He glanced at her, giving a small, reassuring smile. You ready, sweetheart? Alara's blush returned faintly, but her eyes sparkled with determination. Always, she said. The team suited up and descended into the planet's surface tunnels once more. The air was cool but heavy with an alien hum, vibrations that made the skin tingle and the stomach tighten. Alex led the way, pulse blaster in hand, while Alara moved alongside him, scanning continuously. Every corner, every shadow demanded caution, but neither of them faltered. After a few hours, they entered a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, shifting in colors that seemed almost alive. At the center floated the alien entity they had glimpsed before, but now it seemed larger, more defined. Its light pulses were faster, more insistent, and the patterns radiated outward, interacting with the chamber itself. Alara raised her hand toward the scanner. It's trying to communicate more directly, she said. We can respond using the same pulse frequencies. It might understand our attempts at interaction. Alex crouched slightly to her level, his voice soft but steady. Then we do it, together. Alara's fingers brushed against his hand briefly, an electric spark passing between them. Together, she repeated. For hours they experimented with the pulses. The entity reacted to certain sequences with faster, brighter flashes. Others were ignored. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a rhythm that suggested recognition of their persistence and effort. The aliens' communication was more complex than any language they had encountered, but the basic principles were clear: curiosity, observation, and willingness to interact. Alex found himself marveling not just at the alien, but at Alara. She handled the intricate translations with calm precision, her mind working in a way that matched his own improvisational thinking. Where he saw instinct, she saw analysis. Where she saw detail, he saw strategy. Together, they formed a partnership that was more than professional. It was human ingenuity at its peak. Hours later, when the first breakthrough occurred, the alien emitted a pulse so strong that it filled the chamber with light. The walls vibrated and the team felt a subtle warmth, almost as if the entity acknowledged them as allies rather than intruders. Alara looked at Alex, all written across her face. It understands us, she whispered. Alex smiled, brushing a hand over hers. And we understand it, sweetheart. She laughed softly, the sound carrying a mixture of relief and pride. Say it again, she teased. He grinned. Sweetheart, he said firmly, and the entity pulsed in response, almost as if it recognized the word as part of their communication. Their breakthrough opened the door to new possibilities. Alex and Alara guided the team deeper into the alien network, discovering chambers filled with crystal formations that pulsed in harmony with the entity, and corridors that shifted subtly in response to their movement. It was as if the planet itself was alive, adapting, testing, and learning from every human action. Along the way, they encountered creatures that seemed passive at first, but reacted intelligently to the team's presence. Alex and Alara used a combination of containment nets, light pulses, and non-lethal deterrents to navigate safely, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't aggression. It was adaptability, creativity, and cooperation. One chamber contained a pool of liquid that glowed faintly, rippling in patterns that reflected the entity's communication. Alara knelt beside it, placing her scanner near the surface. "This is incredible," she murmured. "It's like a living library." The liquid stores information, maybe even memories. Every ripple is a signal, a story. Alex crouched beside her, watching the patterns shift. "Then let's learn from it, carefully and together." As they worked, their bond deepened. In the quiet moments between discoveries, Alex would glance at her, offering a smile, a word, or a light tease. Each time she responded, her cheeks warming, her eyes lighting up, reinforcing the human connection that made their courage and ingenuity possible. At one point, a sudden tremor shook the chamber. Rocks fell, and part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking the exit. Alex immediately moved to shield Alara, using his body as a barrier while she quickly assessed the structural damage. "We need a new path," she said, calm but precise, scanning the walls for weaknesses or passages. Alex nodded. "I trust you. Lead the way, sweetheart." Her blush returned faintly, but she smiled, turning toward a faint glimmer along the wall that suggested a narrow tunnel. Carefully, they navigated the new path, Alex supporting her physically when needed, and she guiding the team through hazards with a combination of analysis and intuition. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a grand chamber, the largest they had yet seen. At its center, the alien entity pulsed brighter than ever, its form more distinct, almost humanoid in some aspects but entirely otherworldly in others. The walls were covered in intricate designs, glowing softly, and the air vibrated with energy that seemed almost musical. Alara whispered, "It's welcoming us, or at least acknowledging our persistence." Alex looked at her, smiling softly. "It recognizes human courage and ingenuity and partnership." He squeezed her hand, "And maybe our hearts." Her lips curved into a soft smile. "Then let's show it everything we can do together." Over the next several hours, the team experimented with interacting with the entity in more complex ways. They mimicked its pulse sequences, adjusted frequencies, and even incorporated subtle movements to see how the chamber reacted. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The entity responded more positively when humans worked as a team, when decisions were made cooperatively rather than individually. It was a revelation. Human ingenuity, collaboration, and connection were being recognized as a force in themselves. Alex marveled at the thought. Humanity had long relied on technology and strategy to survive, but here, in the face of incomprehensible alien intelligence, the most effective tool was their capacity to work together, to trust, to care. At one point, Alara turned to him, her eyes glinting in the pulsing light. "You know," she said, teasing, "I think the entity likes you calling me sweetheart." Alex's grin was immediate. "Then I'll say it as many times as necessary." Her blush deepened, but she laughed softly. "Good, because it works." The entity's pulses grew brighter, as if in acknowledgement of their bond. It was a small, human moment in an alien world, but it reinforced a truth that Alex had always known. In the vast unknown, human connection was a source of strength, courage, and inspiration. The team continued their exploration, guided by the entity's subtle responses. They discovered chambers filled with crystalline formations that emitted energy pulses, corridors lined with strange bioluminescent flora, and open spaces where gravity shifted subtly, forcing them to adapt their movements. Each discovery required careful thinking, split-second decisions, and cooperation. Alex and Alara faced each challenge with quiet determination. They made split-second choices, protected each other, and guided the team through unknown dangers. And through it all, their bond grew stronger, each whispered word, each gentle touch, each shared moment of courage reinforcing the truth they both felt. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in technology, not in weapons, but in heart, courage, and ingenuity. By the time they returned to the surface, the alien sky was alive with colors they had never seen. The team was exhausted but exhilarated. Alex and Alara stood together, hands intertwined, watching the stars twinkle above. "You know," Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence, "every time we face the unknown, I feel like we're learning more, not just about the universe, but about ourselves, about humanity." Alara squeezed his hand gently. "And every time you remind me why it's worth it." why we explore, why we endure, and why some things like this, she gestured between them, are priceless. Alex smiled, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. Sweetheart. Her cheeks warmed, her eyes reflecting the alien light. Say it again, she said softly. And he did, not just as a word, but as a promise. A promise of courage, partnership, and humanity's unstoppable spirit in a universe that was vast, mysterious, and endlessly challenging. The Vanguard's mission had reached a turning point. The alien entity, once enigmatic and distant, now seemed to recognize them not just as intruders, but as equals, humans capable of bravery, intellect, and heart. Alex and Alara knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it side by side, proving once again that humanity's greatest strength was its ingenuity, courage, and capacity for connection. The alien sky of LV-319 shimmered with colors that defied description, casting the landscape in a soft glow that made everything appear alive. Commander Alex Rain and Dr. Alara Miles stood at the edge of a plateau, looking down at the vast network of bioluminescent formations they had explored for weeks. Their hearts were still racing from the latest encounter, but exhaustion had given way to exhilaration. Humanity had proven its courage, its ingenuity, and perhaps most importantly, its capacity to connect with the unknown. Alara tapped her scanner one last time, confirming that the entity's pulses had stabilized and synchronized with the Vanguard's sensors. It was a sign that the alien intelligence, once distant and mysterious, now recognized them not as invaders, but as allies. The patterns suggested trust, or at least acceptance, and the thought filled the crew with a cautious optimism that humanity had never known on any world before. Alex turned to her, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. We did it, he said softly, not as a boast, but as a shared acknowledgement. Alara smiled, her eyes reflecting the alien lights below. We did it together, she corrected him, the word carrying more weight than he could have imagined. The team began preparing for departure. Supplies were packed, the remaining containment drones secured, and the final data logs stored in the ship's AI memory banks. But despite the sense of accomplishment, Alex felt a tension in the air. A subtle reminder that this planet, alive and intelligent, still held mysteries that humans might not yet comprehend. As the crew worked, Alex and Alara explored one last chamber before leaving. The walls glowed faintly, revealing intricate designs that seemed to shift and change depending on the observer's angle. Alara ran her hand over the smooth surface, the scanner humming softly in her palm. It's like the planet itself is recording our journey, she said. Every choice, every movement, it's all part of a story, Alex nodded, kneeling beside her. Then let's make sure it's a good one, humanity at its best, courage, ingenuity, compassion. He paused, glancing at her with a soft smile. And love, too, sweetheart. Alara's blush returned, deeper this time, but she didn't look away. Instead, she squeezed his hand. Say it again, she whispered, and he did, letting the word linger between them like a promise that no alien or danger could ever break. The journey back to the Vanguard was quiet but filled with unspoken reflection. Each crew member carried memories of survival, of discovery, and of moments that reminded them of why humanity endured in the first place. Alex and Alara walked side by side, occasionally exchanging a glance, sometimes a soft touch of hands or shoulders. Their partnership had become more than professional. It had become the anchor that kept both of them grounded amidst the alien unknown. Once aboard the ship, the crew prepared to lift off. Alex monitored the ascent controls, while Alara oversaw the data integration from their scans and recordings. The entity's pulses continued to synchronize with the ship, a rhythmic signal that seemed almost like a heartbeat. It was a farewell, a recognition, and perhaps even a blessing in the only way a non-human intelligence could offer one. As the Vanguard lifted into orbit, Alex stood beside the observation window, looking down at the planet that had tested, challenged, and ultimately accepted them. Alara joined him, pressing her hand against the glass. The lights of the alien world shimmered beneath them, slowly fading as the ship ascended. You think it will remember us? She asked softly. Alex smiled, his gaze unwavering. It already does. In its own way, it knows who we are. And maybe it knows that humanity can be more than just survival. We can be courage, creativity, and heart. Alara leaned her head on his shoulder, a quiet comfort amidst the hum of the ship's engines. We've left a mark, then, she murmured. Alex nodded, tightening his grip on her hand. A mark of humanity at its best, and we'll carry it forward to every star we reach. For days, the Vanguard traveled through the alien system, cataloging every reading and making sure the planet's network was stable. The crew marveled at the data they had collected, knowing it would change humanity's understanding of life and intelligence in the universe. Scientists, engineers, and explorers alike recognized that what they had witnessed on LV-319 was a turning point, proof that humans could not only survive in alien environments, but connect meaningfully with life beyond their comprehension. Alex and Alara continued to work together, coordinating the crew and analyzing findings, but they also found moments to breathe and reflect. One evening, while the crew rested, Alex found her alone near the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He joined her silently, the two of them sharing a quiet companionship that required no words. "You know," Alex said after a while, "I never thought I'd feel this calm in space, not after all the dangers, not after everything we've faced." Alara tilted her head, curious. "Why now? Because we're here, we survived, we understood, and I'm with you," he said simply, brushing his thumb across her hand. "Sweetheart." Her blush was unmistakable, but her smile was radiant. "Say it again," she whispered, and Alex did, letting the word fill the room, a soft affirmation of love, trust, and partnership amidst the infinite stars. The ship's AI chimed softly, alerting them to a new signal. Alex and Alara exchanged a glance, tension returning for a brief moment. The signal was weak but unmistakable, another pulse from the planet below. Not a threat, but a message, a reminder that the universe was alive with possibilities, and humanity was only beginning to understand its place. Alex grinned, squeezing her hand. "Then let's respond together like always." Alara's nod was firm, her eyes shining. Together. Over the following days, the crew sent calibrated signals back to LV-319, using pulse patterns that mirrored the entity's communication. The responses were subtle but unmistakable, a rhythmic recognition that made the Vanguard's journey feel purposeful. Every time they succeeded in coordinating a pattern, Alex would glance at Alara, and she would smile, the human connection reinforcing their courage and ingenuity. The mission was far from over. LV-319 was just one planet among billions, but it had proven something invaluable, that humanity could reach into the unknown and not just survive, but thrive, learn, and connect. Alex and Alara embodied that spirit, their partnership a living testament to human resilience. One evening, as the Vanguard drifted through the orbit of a neighboring moon, Alex leaned against the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. Alara joined him, her head resting lightly against his shoulder. "Do you ever think about how small we are?" she asked softly, eyes tracing the infinite cosmos. Alex smiled, brushing a hand along hers. "Yes, but I also think about how powerful we can be. Small, yes, but brave, inventive, and connected. That's what makes us unstoppable." Her eyes sparkled in the starlight, and sometimes it's the small things like a word, a touch, or a promise that remind us of why we endure. Alex chuckled softly. "Sweetheart." Her blush returned, but she squeezed his hand firmly. "Say it again," she whispered. And he did, letting the word echo in the quiet of space, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not just courage, ingenuity, or technology, but heart. The Vanguard continued its journey, carrying humanity's courage, curiosity, and spirit to the far reaches of the universe. And Alex and Alara, bound by experience, partnership, and quiet moments of love, knew that whatever awaited them among the stars, they would face it together. As the stars stretched infinitely before them, Alex whispered once more, "Sweetheart." Alara smiled, her hand in his. "Say it again," she replied, and the two of them stood together, ready for anything, proving that even in the vast, mysterious cosmos, humanity's heart would always shine the brightest. LV-319, once a distant and dangerous planet, became a symbol of triumph, a testament to human courage, intelligence, adaptability, and the unbreakable bonds forged in the face of the unknown. Humanity had reached for the stars, but it had also discovered that its true power lay in connection, heart, and the willingness to face the impossible, together. The Vanguard's mission had been a success in ways beyond measure. Science would benefit, knowledge would expand. But more importantly, humanity had proven that even in alien worlds, even in challenges beyond comprehension, its greatest strength was enduring spirit, ingenuity, and the capacity for love. Alex looked at Alara one last time before turning back to the observation window. "We'll keep reaching, sweetheart, for every world, every star, every possibility." She leaned into him, smiling softly. "And I'll keep answering always." In the silence of space, surrounded by stars and endless possibility, humanity had left a mark that no alien world could erase. And Alex and Alara, hand in hand, hearts connected, knew that their story was only beginning.